I remember standing perfectly still, holding my breath, because I realized the sound wasn't coming from outside the house anymore. It was inside. And I wasn't sure whether it was in my head or if something was in the other room, whispering my name. It was an ordinary weekend getaway. Just me, a cabin in the woods, and a few days of peace before the chaos of everyday life crept back in. I had booked the cabin a few weeks prior, looking for a quick break from the grind, the kind of isolation that only nature can offer. No internet, no distractions, just the trees, the quiet, and me. I arrived early on Friday evening. The place was charming in a worn-down kind of way, with creaky floors and old wooden beams. It smelled like wood and earth, fresh air, really. The kind of smell that wraps you up and tells you everything's going to be okay. At first, everything felt perfectly safe. The woods were silent except for the wind rustling the leaves, and I had the place to myself. The nearest neighbor was a mile away, and there were no immediate plans to interact with anyone. I thought it'd be the perfect time to unwind, to read, to just be alone. There was a small kitchen, a cozy fire pit outside, and a loft that felt like a good place to watch the stars. It all seemed so normal. The first night wasn't anything special, just the usual sounds of an old house settling. The wind howling, the occasional creak of the beams. But around 2 a.m., I heard something that made me pause. It was a voice. Just one word. A soft, almost musical hello. I froze, straining to hear over the wind. The voice didn't sound like someone in distress or calling for help. It was calm. Friendly, even. But it was impossible. I was alone. I checked the doors, locked out windows. Shut tight. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe I was hearing things. I'd read that cabins in the woods sometimes played tricks on you, old wood, shifting air, things that echo in strange ways. I lay back down, trying to shake off the unease. The second night, I heard it again. But this time, it wasn't just hello. It was a bit more personal. Is anyone there? The voice called. This time, I bolted upright in bed. My chest tightened. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I turned on the bedside lamp and grabbed my phone, half expecting someone to be outside. Maybe a hunter or a local prankster. But no one was there. No sign of movement. The cabin was as still as before. I stayed up a while, staring at the door, willing my mind to settle. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The voice sounded too real, too familiar. It wasn't just a random sound. It felt like it was directed at me. Then, as I tried to convince myself to relax, I heard it again, closer this time. Matt. It said my name. Not a mistake. Not a call from a stranger. My name. That was the moment the room felt too small. I knew then that it wasn't some random noise, some odd echo from the woods. Someone or something was here with me. I wanted to leave, but the road out was long, and the weather was turning colder by the hour. Plus, something about the voice kept me rooted to the spot. I needed to hear more, understand more. I waited, and as I waited, I noticed something strange. The voice kept mimicking me, calling out in the same tone, the same cadence. At one point, I even whispered Matt back, just to test. The voice responded, a perfect echo of my own voice. I remember the panic beginning to creep up my spine as I realized just how close it sounded. And the house no longer felt like it was mine. It felt invaded. By the third night, I was terrified. The voice wasn't just mimicking anymore. It was beginning to sound like it was in the room with me, not outside, not from another floor. It was in the walls. I would hear the voice say my name, like it was right behind me, but when I turned around, there was nothing. And it wasn't just my name. It was mimicking the sounds I made. If I sighed, it sighed. If I shuffled, it shuffled. It mirrored my every move. I grabbed my keys and went outside, locking the door behind me. I needed fresh air. I needed to get away from the suffocating feeling inside. But the minute I stepped outside, I heard the voice again. This time, it wasn't from the cabin. It was behind me, in the trees. I turned quickly, my pulse hammering, and for the briefest moment, I could have sworn I saw a figure darting between the shadows. I didn't stay to investigate. I ran. I bolted down the path, through the woods, not daring to look back. My voice was following me. I could hear it echoing between the trees, getting louder as I ran. I didn't stop until I reached the car, and even then, as I slammed the door shut, I could still hear it just faintly now, but still there. The voice, calling to me, mimicking my every breath. I drove straight to the nearest town, my hands gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. The town was small, and the lights were comforting, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. I called the police, explained what had happened. They told me that I'd probably just been hearing things, that cabins in the woods play tricks on people, but I wasn't convinced. The voice had been too real, too persistent. I returned the next day with the authorities, but the cabin was empty. The air felt stale. Nothing had changed. No sign of any intruders. It was like the voice had never existed. But I knew it had. I couldn't explain it. When I went back to pack up my things, I found something strange, an old photograph of me, taken in the woods, and I didn't remember posing for it. My stomach turned. The figure in the photo, it was me. But the look in my eyes was hollow, empty. Maybe it was all just my mind playing tricks, the isolation getting to me. Or maybe something was out there in the woods. But I can't shake the feeling that, whatever it was, it knew me. It knew me, and I'll never forget the echo of my own voice calling to me in the dark. If you've ever had an experience like this, something that still keeps you awake at night, share it with us. Sometimes, the hardest thing to face is what we can't explain.